Good evening. Welcome, everyone. I hope you had a wonderful lunch and had the opportunity to chat with a few of our conservationists. My name is Laura Gruber. I'm one of the senior programs managers here at WCN, and I am more than pleased to be able to introduce our next session. We have Dr. Pablo Borborglou, who is the founder and president of the Global Penguin Society. He's spent 33 years working in marine conservation, focusing on habitat and penguins. And he has, with his team, protected 32 million acres of landscapes for penguin habitats. Additionally, he has won the 2018 Whitley Gold Award, the 2018 National Geographic Buffett Awards for Leadership in Conservation, as well as the Associate Laureate of the 2019 Rolex Awards of the Enterprise. It's pretty impressive, Poppy. Additionally, we are excited to welcome Lujan Vichabriga. She is the education specialist for GPS. She's been working with them since 2012 and has been able to provide learning opportunities for thousands of children in the local communities, as well as reaching a global audience and providing learning opportunities for the larger population. With that, welcome, Poppy.
If there is magic on this planet, a lot of it is contained in the penguins. At least that's how we feel about them. Thank you so much, Laura, for that introduction. It's amazing to be again with all of you, sharing what we do for our penguins. So we think that penguins are magic because they have superpowers. Penguins can raise their eggs and incubate the eggs and raise their chicks in Antarctica in the middle of the winter with temperatures of minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit and winds of over 100 miles an hour. If that doesn't surprise you, penguins can dive down 1,600 feet under the surface of the ocean, and then they can stay under the water without breathing for 23 minutes. So macaws will never be able to do that. In addition, penguins have ultraviolet vision. Ultraviolet rays are invisible for human beings, meaning that when we are in the ocean, we can only see blue, but penguins can see a complete universe of colors that allows them to detect their prey easily. So that magic is possible thanks to the evolution of the species. When we think about penguins, we tend to think of a small animal, right? But let me introduce you the monster penguin. This is the digital recreation of a penguin that lived 60 million years ago in New Zealand when penguins appeared. Penguins featured allow them to cope with some threats, but now those features became like a conservation trap because now penguins are facing different threats and those threats are more intense. We conducted recently a genetic study where we analyzed the origin and the evolution of all the penguins, and we studied the DNA of all the penguins that exist right now and all the fossil penguins that were found. So but why is this study important in terms of conservation? It is relevant because we studied the adaptation speed of the penguins to change and adapt to the changing environment. And what we discover is that 60 million years ago, penguins have a very fast adaptation speed, so they could change quickly and they could adapt to the changing environment. But what happened? Now, penguins have the lowest adaptation speed of all the living birds. And this is a concern because the current pace of warming will far exceed the adaptive capability of penguins. So this highlights the need to protect penguins even more and strengthen even more our conservation actions. And this is why we created the Global Penguin Society, an international organization that protects the 18 different species on the planet through research, protection of habitat, and education. But let's dive in the penguins world. There are 18 different species of penguins right now on our planet. They only live in the southern hemisphere, But unfortunately, half of them are considered threatened at the species level. So penguins were shaped during these 60 million years to be able to live in the most extreme weather conditions on our planet. But now, as I said, they're facing new threats, including climate change, fisheries, marine pollution, and human disturbance when penguins come on land to breed. Climate change is affecting penguins that live in Antarctica, but most of the penguins live outside of Antarctica. And climate change is changing the distribution of the food, the availability of the food close to the colonies, and when chicks are very small, which is the moment when food is mostly needed. In addition, climate change is triggering more heat waves, the intensity and the duration. So this is a penguin during a heat wave. They are panting like dogs because it's the only way they can eliminate the excess of heat. Remember, their bodies are covered by feathers and they don't sweat like us. In one of these afternoons, we registered a temperature of 112 degrees Fahrenheit in the colony, and 260 healthy penguins died in that afternoon trying to go into the ocean from their nest. Some of them, they live 1 kilometer far inland. Climate change is also an issue because it's triggering wildfires. You know about that here in California. So the problem with the penguins is that they were never exposed to fire during these 60 million years. So they don't recognize the fire as a threat. They just stay in their nest and they burn until they die. So this is a new threat for them. So on top of these more kind of global issues, there are also things related with human disturbance and habitat destruction. Last year, we reported a case where a landowner with a bulldozer destroyed 22,000 square feet of a penguin colony, as you can see, with a bulldozer. He built a road of 1 mile long, crossing a high nesting density area, as you can see, within the penguin colony. This is an aerial view where you can see the holes are the burrows where penguins nest. And penguins also nest under the bushes, the vegetation. So you can clearly see the impact of the road that destroyed all the vegetation. So here you can see some of the chicks we found dead. And thanks to National Geographic, who bought all the satellite images, we could prove that most part of the harm was done on a date where penguins were in the nest with the eggs. So now there is a legal case. We are helping a lot to get the evidence. There will be a trial. And we truly hope that all this can generate benefits for the penguins that can counterbalance the harm done. But most importantly, we hope that this case can help improve the very weak national wildlife legislation. So it's not only to benefit penguins, but all the wildlife in Argentina. But the good news is that we are doing so many things to prevent these situations in the future. Right now, we are creating a magnificent marine protected area and terrestrial protected area in the Atlantic coast of Patagonia. And we are going to create it and then work through a participatory process to design its management plan, working with communities, landowners, and the government. This area has penguins, of course, but it has a very rich biodiversity of other animals, whales, dolphins, seabirds, terrestrial mammals, and even unique reptiles. But they are also exposed to threats like fisheries, human disturbance, and pollution. This is one of the images of one of the beaches there. This is Patagonia, supposed to be one of the most pristine places on Earth. So as you can see, there are lots of plastics. Most of them, they come from fisheries, but also from reckless people. Penguins get entangled in big pieces of plastics. Sometimes they swallow plastic that can harm them and even kill them. And this is the final map we've been working on. This is the proposal for this huge protected area. It will have 600,000 acres of marine and terrestrial habitat, combining private and public land. When I go back home, we will be submitting this to the Congress for approval. So hopefully we will have news before the end of the year. The original seed for the creation of this area was a little colony that we discovered 14 years ago, and we protected it since then. And this story was featured recently by CNN original series called Patagonia, Life on the Earth of the World. So take a look at it. The first time I came, this place was a real mess. There were a lot of reckless people
throwing garbage everywhere. We needed to protect this colony.
It took several years of clearing trash and getting local support to turn this polluted beach into a protected area.
The colony grew from those 6 original pairs of penguins to over 3,000 pairs now. So that was a home run.
Poppy now lives nearby with his wife Laura. During breeding season, they regularly monitor the penguins.
When you work with them and you visit them very frequently, you get to know them better. And one of the favorite penguins in this colony is called Clarita.
She is one of the original few that restarted the colony.
Está Clarita, excelente. Ay, qué linda.
Mira, we know that she's about 16 years old. She was able to raise 14 chicks. And the last 2 chicks are hatching right now.
Poppy weighs and measures Clarita's newborns to make sure they're in good health.
So as you can see, Clarita is a celebrity right now. So we are also working in different countries. We are strengthening our program in New Zealand, and one of the things we are going to do is to put little cameras on the back of the penguins to study the marine habitat they use and their behavior. So I'm going to show you a video where you can see a penguin. He's got the camera on the back, so you can see the back of the head. He's diving right now. You can see the flippers. He's going down looking for food. He goes to the bottom, but he finds himself surrounded by hundreds of sharks. So he's trying to go back and forth, trying to avoid being eaten. And at some point, he needs to go back to the surface because he's running out of oxygen. But they are everywhere. See that? So at some point, he sees the opportunity and he eliminates air and goes back to the surface. Yeah. So a big thank you to our Mar Alliance friends, whose sharks didn't eat our penguin, and we could recover the camera, and you can see the video now. So finally, this last winter in the Southern Hemisphere, together with partners, we've been tracking the migration trip of 6 months and almost 4,000 miles from southern Argentina to Brazil. And this information is critical because Argentina is now planning a huge oil development in its ocean. So this will be very, very useful in the future. So now I leave you with our amazing Luján, the director of our education program.
Thanks, Poppy. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to see you today and to introduce you to our educational work to build a conservation culture, which means that we need to change the human relationship with penguins and oceans. And the best place to start is in childhood. The school trips to visit penguin colonies are one of our main educational activities. Before each trip, we make a huge effort to reach children with our conservation message. First, we give talks at the schools about penguin conservation problems. Then, we give away our new learning and activity book, Meet the Penguins, to each student so they can continue learning with teacher in the class. One of the highlights for children is our role-playing game where they have to get fish to feed their chicks, and at the same time they have to escape from different predators and threats until they reach a safe protected area. We learned this game of our Ewaso lion friends and adapted it to penguins. This game makes children aware about how hard the penguin's life is. Through our school trips, to visit penguins, we give children the opportunity to make a real contact with penguins. For some of them, this is the first time they have ever seen a penguin and the ocean. So far, we have taken over 7,000 children to visit penguin colonies from different developing countries. However, we noticed that the school trip was a one-day activity, and the teachers were not taking advantage from it during the year. So, together with the government, we decided to offer the third edition of a teacher training course called Education, Appreciation, and Conservation of Our Natural Resources. Our goal is to motivate teachers to give them knowledge about biodiversity of the natural protected areas. To raise awareness among global audiences of children, we launched our new booklet, Meet the Penguins. In addition, we give online classes to thousands of students which are streamed live from remote penguin colonies through a satellite antenna. Imagine that you are a 10-year-old in India and you never saw a penguin, a real penguin, in a while. Through this activity, you will have a memorable lifetime experience. In this image, you can see our most recent important beach cleanup event called Cleaning the Penguins' Home. We organize it every year, engaging thousands of adolescents to remove, and general public, to remove plastic from penguin colonies. Our goal is to raise awareness in the community about the negative effects of plastic pollution in the oceans due to human activities and promote new habits to benefit the environment. Let me show you the next video where you can see how we engage adolescents. In this image, you can see the initials of our organization, GPS, that was written with collective plastic. Let me show you the next video. Finally, I would like to thank you very much for supporting our activities to build a conservation culture together. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Luján. And before we leave, we just want to share with you that last Saturday we were in the Vatican City receiving the International Shack Award. And this is something that we want to celebrate with you, because this is only possible thanks to the support we receive from all of you. And together, we have been able to do amazing things thanks to your support. We have been able to protect millions of acres of penguin habitat in the ocean and on land, benefiting 2.5 million penguins worldwide. So we have done a lot, okay, but there's so much more to be done. We have new and exciting goals ahead. So we invite you all to partner with us and support our actions to benefit the penguins, the people, and the entire planet. So thank you very much.
Thank Thank you so much, Poppy and Lujan. We have an opportunity for a few questions from the audience, if there's any questions.
Poppy, does the Global Penguin Society then represent all penguins throughout the world?
Yes, and this is the reason why we created it, because it's still the only organization that is focused exclusively on all the penguin species on the planet. But we work in the countries where penguins live, but also in other developing countries where there are interest in research and conservation of penguins. Thank you.
Can you talk about the oil refinery that you mentioned?
The oil development plans?
Yes.
Oh, that's a nightmare. So, yeah, so in the 80s, 40,000 penguins died per year only in our province due to the oil spills. There were a lot of conservation efforts. Oil tanker lanes were moved further offshore, and now we are having no more than 30. So from 40,000 to 30. But now, due to the economic situation in Argentina, they want to develop an oil. First of all, they want to do exploration, which is a seismic exploration. You know, they create like explosions under the ocean, which is terrible acoustically, because they live in a universe of sounds also. It affects penguins, but a lot of marine mammals as well. And then it will be the extraction and transportation. So we're really concerned. We participated as an organization in the public audience organized by the ministry. We are working together with other NGOs as a front, because we are suing, you know, because to make sure that the processes are okay, to mitigate the impacts, to make sure that there is less harm. So we're fighting there. There's a strong fight because Argentina is a very poor country right now, so they want to find money out of anywhere, you know. And the environment, I mean, we have 60%, 110% of inflation, 60% of poverty, so the environment is not a priority. But we're standing there. Thanks.
The question I had, when you were referring initially to the massive number of penguins that were killed when the road was constructed, if it is that large a penguin colony, it was not protected land to begin with?
Great question. So you can be the owner of the land, but you're not the owner of the wildlife in Argentina. That is a public good, it's a public trust. You know, so you can modify your habitat if it does not affect the wildlife. So this colony was outside of a protected area. You know, it was not protected yet. You know, but still there are some laws that protects the animals. They protect the habitat even when the wildlife is not there. Penguins, they have 80% of fidelity. You say they're territorial. So they live 35 years old and they come back to the same nest year after year, where they meet their partners. We follow couples that stay together for 17 years, you know, but they meet in the nest. When you destroy the nest, you destroy the bond, the pair bond. You know, it's not only a piece of land. So it has a lot of implications for the biology of the species. Besides, it's wrong. I mean, he shouldn't be doing that. But the trial is complicated. We're going to go through the trial, and we were the funds that discovered this, and we needed to make this denounce. It has a high cost for us as well. It's not easy in these countries to denounce and to say when things are wrong, particularly when you are dealing with powerful people. But we are strong as penguins.
Aside from the MPA, the Marine Protection Area that you mentioned, what are your biggest immediate needs and goals for the future?
So first of all, the protected area, because first of all, there's a lot of cost to create it. You know, you have to make a lot of workshops, and there's a transportation. You have to hire consultants, lawyers, but then you have to follow up and make sure that the government is implementing that. Because everybody likes to cut the ribbon, but then you will have a paper park, and it should work. You know. And the other things is that we're also investing a lot in research in New Zealand, in South Africa, and also in South America. And that is really expensive because these devices, the cameras, they have to resist these guys that are diving hundreds of meters down the ocean. So the devices are designed specifically for penguins. So we track them, the satellite devices, the GPS, all the campaigns. We have a Subantarctic campaign next month to the Antipodes Islands in New Zealand. which is like 1,000 kilometers away from. So that's part of the costs we have. And in terms of education,
Yes, we organize beach cleanup events to raise awareness among local communities, and the school trip to visit penguin colonies. We organize it in the protected areas. So kids learn how to respect and protect penguins in a natural protected area. So it's useful as well.
right, and we are expanding to new provinces
Yes.
in Argentina.
Yes,
Right.
we are. Our educational program is growing, and we are. This year we started to expand to a new place, a new area where there are a penguin colony who coexist. Magellanic penguin and rockhopper penguin coexist, but there isn't any education program there. So it's important raise awareness in local communities as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you work with zoo SSPs at all in raising awareness outside of the local areas, but like for instance here in the U.S., are you working with SSPs at all in the zoos so that you can, teach kids everywhere about the penguins instead of just locally as well?
Yes, great. So we have the local program that Lujan described, but we also work with partners like Disney Nature, Disney Conservation Fund, and we use platforms provided by National Geographic. So like when we are on we do these online classrooms.
Online classes.
With satellite antennas. Through National Geographic, we reach, on each session of 1 hour, we have 5,000 kids each. But some time ago...
From different countries.
Yeah, from all over the planet.
Yes.
Some time ago, I don't know if you remember Club Penguin. It was a game run by Disney. It doesn't exist anymore.
You played that.
Yeah, it was amazing. Excellent, excellent. So the thing is that we made a partnership with them. We provided content to enrich the experience, and they supported our conservation actions. And there were 100 million kids playing worldwide. So like that's a way to use their platforms and partner to reach a global audience apart from the local efforts, right?
Yes.
So how do you get the estimation for the penguin population?
Great. So it depends. I can talk about that months. So my expertise as a researcher is population dynamics, how populations grow and decrease, and how penguins are born here and go to another colonies. So there are 18 different species of penguins, so we census them all in different ways. Some of them we use satellites, like the emperor penguin, because you see them from the satellite. I mean, they're big guys, so in other cases, penguins, when they nest on the surface, you can use drones. And there are systems that the system counts the penguins. Some other penguins, they nest underground, like these Magellanic penguins, so you cannot. We were talking before the session that we would need some infrared to go and census. We only count breeders, because you count the nest, when you work with seabirds, you go into a colony, they all fly, so you only get the nest. So you estimate one nest are 2 breeders. In penguins, they don't fly. So you go and they're there, and you count the nests that are being used in that moment. But let's talk about that forever. Oh, Elaine, okay.
The video was amazing.
The shark one?
Yeah. Yes. Can you talk about how you got that on the back of the penguin and how extensively you do that and just things like that?
Perfect. So all the devices that we use, satellite technology, GPS technology, we don't attach it to the skin. We attach it to the feathers using special tapes, So guess that this is the device. So it's complicated we use a lot of tapes attached to the feathers, but then it goes like this, And then you make like this, and you overlap all the layers of tapes. So then you release the penguin. Before that, you have to cover the tapes, because the penguins, they help each other to take the devices out. So we put some kind of epoxy, and then we release them. So it depends on the technology, it depends on the device. The cameras, we keep them for 5 hours. The satellite, you can have them on for 5 months. So it all depends, But the technology now is amazing, because we are able not only to see where they go, but also the depth, the behavior when they dive, and also with the cameras to see who they are dealing with under the ocean.
Puppy, I believe there's time for maybe one more question.
Okay, so I'm going to use that time for a special thing. This is the 20th anniversary of WCN, so it means that it's no longer a teenager, right? So I want you to sing along with us the happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, WCN. Happy birthday to you. Thank you.